Fantasy fanfiction. Martial arts online game. Get Wanjian to return to the clan at the beginning. Chapter 1. Dragon Kingdom, Zhang Cheng. Looking at the game warehouse delivered to his door, Chen Li was still a little overwhelmed. Are you really reborn? Rebirth back to 7 years ago when Zhanghu was just released. Zhanghu is an online game about the secrets of human evolution. It was born 7 years ago. There are familiar characters and martial arts here. There is a beggar gang leader who controls Sangyang. There is the peerless swordsman Tianwei Feixian. There is a generation of giants dominating the northwest. There is an unknown expert overlooking the world. As for Chen Li, in his previous life, he could be regarded as a moderate master. At the beginning, he joined the Wudang school, and started his career with the soft sword technique with one hand wrapping around his fingers, and his famous Shenmen 13 swords resounded all over the world. In the end, it is only one step away from the Wudang unique Taiji swordsmanship. On the top of the list of 6 doors, barely stepped into the bottom of the list. It is called the Qingshu sword, but it is always nicknamed the kidney shoe sword by friends. Besides, how many talents are there in this mysterious online game at the all-people level, which is about the mysteries of human evolution? Even though he has surpassed most people, he is still not considered the top. Unique skills, magical skills. This is what all warriors and people in the Zhanghu dream of pursuing. Afterwards, Chen Li fell into a battle for a treasure in the world. That treasure seems to be something about swordsmanship. As a Zhanghu person who also uses swords, Chen Li has this adventure, so he will not let it go. It's just that what Chen Li didn't expect was that when he didn't know what the contention was, there were so many masters involved, whether it was players or NPCs, their strengths had reached unimaginable levels. In the end, Chen Li stole the treasure by relying on the special martial arts, Miao Shou Kong Kong, that he learned from Sikong Jai Xing in the past. In the end, he didn't even have a chance to take a look at it, so he was killed directly. Then, it returned to the present time node. Chen Li looked at the familiar game room in front of him. In the past few days, he recalled the situation in his previous life again and again for countless times. What is the use of that treasure that I stole? Chen Li looked at his palm. In the palm of his hand, there is a small sword like a sword pendant. This thing was something that he never had before his rebirth. It seems to be accompanied by his rebirth. It's just that in the past few days, he has studied this thing for a long time, but he still has no clue. But Chen Li knew that next, it was time to witness. Is it because I think too much, or this thing is really something I got before my rebirth? As long as I enter Zhanghu again, I can know all about it. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath, no longer hesitated, and directly lay down in the game room. The world is pitch black, but a voice has already sounded in my ears. Welcome to Zhanghu. Please name your character. Close black lens bracket. Note: the background of the rivers and lakes is the ancient Dragon Kingdom. Please don't use too weird names. Chen Li thought for a while, and then directly chose the it of his previous life. Open black lens bracket. Chen Li close black lens bracket. System. Named successfully. Please choose your life experience. Close black lens bracket. Note 1. The initial option is related to the initial attributes and is extremely important, please choose carefully. Note 2. The branches after each option are different. 1. The family is in decline, wandering on the streets. Close black lens bracket. 2. The merchant family is rich. Close black lens bracket. 3. A martial arts family with a little knowledge of martial arts. Close black lens bracket. 4. 10 years of cold windows, serve the imperial court. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. 5. Serving in the army for my father, I have no eyes on the battlefield. Close black lens bracket. 6. Disciple of the sect, newcomer to the rivers and lakes. Close black lens bracket. 6 options. Each is different, and you can see the huge gap just by taking a look. Chen Li looked at the familiar and unfamiliar options in front of him. Before he had time to feel emotional, he made a choice directly. 1. The family has fallen, wandering on the streets. Compared to other options, the second merchant family, in addition to the basic attributes, can initially get an additional 10 to 20 taels of silver. This is a huge sum of money, there is no doubt about it, but there are indeed many martial arts that can be bought with gold and silver in the world, but none of them are of high quality. The third option is to improve the root and concentration attributes according to the subsequent choices, and there is a chance to get a piece of initial equipment. The fourth option is that in addition to the initial attributes, the perception will be improved, and an official position in the court will be added. In addition to receiving regular salaries, this official position can also give priority to entering the court sects, such as the 6 sects of the Song dynasty, such as the Jinyue of the Ming dynasty, the blood droplet of the Jin kingdom, and so on. The fifth option is recognized as one of the 2 most difficult options, battlefield experience, but it is said that this opening option is easier for sects that join the evil sect, but no one has verified it. As for the final choice, it is simpler, and will directly join a certain sect according to the follow-up options, and it will be done in one step. Among the initial 6 choices, the first one is undoubtedly the most difficult start, but only Chen Li knows that this first start has improved a crucial attribute compared with the rest. Fortune. The attribute of Fuyuan is different from the other 5 attributes such as strength, body skills, root bones, concentration, and understanding. It is a hidden attribute. But it is the most difficult attribute to improve, not one of them. Many adventures are triggered, and the only thing needed is the attribute of fortune. Quickly selected the next few options, and finally, the last option appeared in front of Chen Li's eyes. Open black lens bracket. You choose your place of birth, close black lens bracket. Mengyuan, Mobei Grassland, Ming Kingdom, Jiangnan, Song Kingdom, Jiangnan, Liao Kingdom, Northern Region, Jin Kingdom, Northern Region, Western Regions, Overseas, Dali, Shisha. In the rivers and lakes, there are many countries coexisting. The countries are connected, and the plots are all connected. However, there is a systematic carriage station. Even if you are on your way, it will not take too long. Looking at these options, Chen Li directly chose Songguo, which is undoubtedly the most familiar. An ancient city full of traffic. Chen Li's figure suddenly appeared, and with him, there were many other players. Chen Li ignored those exclaiming players, and directly clicked on his attribute list. Open black lens bracket. Chen Li close black lens bracket. Level 1 not popular. Open black lens bracket. Health points 200 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Strength 20 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Agility 25 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Root bone 15 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Concentration 15 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Perception 50 close black lens bracket. Fuyuan close black lens bracket. Comprehension 50. What the hell is this? Although it is true that the basic attributes of the wandering start are a little bit higher than others, but it will not reach this point, right? Chen Li didn't have any time to worry about it, and looked at another important thing in his backpack. Open black lens bracket. Sword order close black lens bracket. Grade. No rank for special treasures. A special token that can lead to a mysterious place. It is extremely powerful, and has unimaginable magical effects. Close black lens bracket. Attribute. Comprehension plus 30. Special effect. Janman. You can activate the sword command and send it to a special map. Close black lens bracket. Note. There is a 1-month cooling time for activating this skill, and the cooling time will be shortened as the user's strength increases. Open black lens bracket. Use or not. Close black lens bracket. Sword order. This thing is so terrifying. Chen Li looked at the small sword-shaped pendant in his hand that really appeared in the game, and fell into joyful contemplation. What is the meaning of this sword gate skill? This thing that I stole with the Miao Shu Kong Kong before my rebirth in the previous life came to the game again after my rebirth. Chen Li didn't hesitate too much. The left and right are now at the first level. They don't have any skills. It's really not reconciled. Open black lens bracket. Use. Close black lens bracket. A ray of light shines from the city of Yuhang in Song Dynasty, but no one cares about it. But the next moment, Chen Li appeared in an extremely strange place. There is a big sun, a bright moon, and stars in the sky. Floating together in the sky. Even Chen Li looked up and saw a palace-like land in the sky. Asgard. And the surrounding area is empty, covered with mist. Faintly, it seems that there are sword shadows. This is a martial arts game, not a fairy game, right? Isn't this style of painting a bit beyond the standard? Chen Li complained in his heart, but he didn't dare to move his body, but honestly opened the system log to record his actions. And above this log, there are only 2 lines. You are a little beggar from a poor family, you grew up in Yuhang. Today, I saved up a tael of silver, and finally decided to step out of the rivers and lakes. The loneliness in the first half of your life makes you seem to be compensated by luck. Close black lens bracket. You used the sword command and came to a special map, Sword World. Close black lens bracket. Sword World. Chen Li was taken aback when he saw these 2 large characters. In Zhonghu, various martial arts works are used as the background. Although Fengyan said that the later period seriously exceeded the standard, making it impossible to appear directly, some martial arts still appear in the form left over from ancient times. Even in the last life, one of the 9 uniques among the players. One of the most powerful contenders for Inner Absolute is the inheritor of 3 points returning to Yuan Qi. In Fengyan, Yan Baiquan, who is known as the God King, is also a well-known celestial master in his previous life. And the sword world is always a legendary. This kind of place. I'm only at level 1 now. Chen Li looked at the sword energy that seemed to be floating in the world, as if anyone could easily penetrate his body. It's just that at this moment, a burst of cold air came from his hand, and Chen Li looked at the thing in his hand. The sword-shaped pendant named Sword Token exuded a faint light, and the direction of the sword tip swayed by itself, pointing in one direction. In this mist, it seems that there are sword shadows surrounded by one after another, which is extremely strange. As soon as Chen Li gritted his teeth, he had no choice but to trust what he had in his hands in such a ghostly place. The sword energy roared in the mist, and even Chen Li felt that as long as he touched himself a little, his health points would be cleared immediately. It's just that this sword order seems to have indescribable magic power, and the path it guides is not obstructed by the slightest sword energy. Soon, the final location appeared before Chen Li's eyes. This is a huge mountain. At least in front of Chen Li's eyes, that's the case. On the hillside, on the mountain wall, there are no stones, no vegetation. Yes, there is only one sword so densely packed that it is not clear how many swords there are. All swords. This is. Chen Li opened his mouth in disbelief, watching all this appeared in front of his eyes. I didn't come back to my senses for a long time. It's not that he hasn't been to the sword tomb outside Xiangyang City. But the so-called sword tomb, compared to the scene in front of you, is nothing short of a cloud. Chen Li swallowed, feeling a little confused, but the flickering of the sword order stopped here. He could only tentatively stretch out his hand, and touched this huge mountain-like sword grave. And with just such a touch, a system notification sound came again. System. You have touched the place where the special martial arts, Wanjian Guizong, is inherited. Close black lens bracket. System. If the inheritance fails and the conditions are not met, you will permanently lose the opportunity to inherit the Wanjian Guizong. And all attributes -2. Close black lens bracket. Are you trying to accept the inheritance? Close black lens bracket. What the hell? Chen Li cursed directly in the C language. Originally, he thought that he was only level 1 now, without any martial arts, and even if he died, he would have no loss. Who knows that the sword world is so evil? A normal death, in addition to losing the level, is the loss of the level of the martial arts realm. Have you ever thought of losing the 5-dimensional attribute here? You must know that the 5-dimensional attribute will only give 2 assignable points every time it is upgraded to 5 levels, and martial arts can be improved by a little bit. The difficulty of obtaining it is ridiculously high. But, Wanjian returns to the sect. Chen Li's eyes looked at the mountain tomb in front of him, and he fell into scorching heat. The martial arts levels in Zhonghu range from 1st rank to 9th rank. Above the 9th rank, it is a unique skill, and above the unique skill, it is a magical skill. The number of magical skills is unique, and there may only be such a lucky one among tens of millions of people. Each of them is a figure who was a powerful figure in the rivers and lakes in the previous life. Is this 10,000 swords returning to the sect just that unique magical skill? Do you want to accept inheritance? Chen Li was lost in thought. In the early stage of Zhonghu, if one's own realm level has not broken through the first-class masters, when it is integrated with one's own actual strength, it is possible to delete the account and reopen it. But there must be a month in between. Once you can't accept the inheritance, if you want to reopen it, you will have to waste a month. But, looking at the sword order in his hand, Chen Li made up his mind, this is a treasure, since this thing came to the sword world to actively shine, and let him come here, it must have a reason. Thinking of this, I took another look at the attributes of this sword order. With so many attributes and such terrifying effects, even if it fails, I will not lose. Take a gamble. In the previous life, I was too pursuing stability. Except, Chen Li finally made up his mind. Accept the inheritance. The conditions required for inheritance are being tested. Close black lens bracket. Condition 1. The inheritor must not have learned any martial arts. Satisfied. Condition 2. The inheritor must not have any internal strength. Satisfied. Condition 3. The understanding of the inheritor is greater than or equal to 45 points. Satisfied. A voice like a judgment book sounded in Chen Li's ear. Finally, a voice that made goosebumps bloom all over his body suddenly appeared in his ears. Open black lens bracket. The inspection is complete. The player, Chen Li, meets the special martial arts, Wanjian Guizhong, inheritance conditions. Begin to pass on. Close black lens bracket. A terrifying message slowly poured into Chen Li's mind, causing him to stand in front of the mountain wall in a daze for a moment. After a long time, he was awakened by a system prompt. Ding, you have learned a special martial art. Wanjian returns to the sect. Close black lens bracket. Even Chen Li couldn't restrain his excitement at this time. Wanjian returns to the sect. In Zhonghu, Fengyan's martial arts are extremely rare, because this is the last era, and there are remnants of martial arts thousands of years ago. It is outrageous to have one or two relics of martial arts from thousands of years ago. As for Wanjian Guizhong's ability and grade, it seems needless to say. Even after experiencing the even more unimaginable thing of rebirth, Chen Li couldn't help being so excited that he couldn't restrain his excitement. Let alone this level of martial arts in his last life, he didn't even have the chance to get it. Wanjian returns to the sect. Type: Internal Strength, Swordsmanship. Grade: First Grade, 0/1. Note: every time a swordsmanship is practiced to the Zochin level, the progress will be +1. After the progress is reached, the level can be upgraded. There is no upper limit for the level. The more swordsmanship you learn, the higher the level. Description: returning 10,000 swords to the sect is the highest level of swordsmanship. Once you use 10,000 swords, you are like a servant meeting the master, like worshipping a god. The level and power can be gradually improved with the number of sword skills acquired. Close black lens bracket. Attributes: Root +1, Movement +1, Strength +1, Concentration +1, Comprehension +1, Internal Strength +100. Close black lens bracket. Feature 1. Sword Master. All sword techniques, any grade, ignore all learning requirements. You can understand it directly. Any swordsmanship whose grade is lower than that of Wanjian Chaozong can be cultivated directly to Zochin. Swordsmanship training speed +500%. Potential required is reduced by 50%. But you can't practice other types of external martial arts, and the potential required for the rest of the internal exercises is +500%. Close black lens bracket. Originally, when he saw that the famous Wanjian Guizhong was only a rank 1, that is, even the lowest rank 1, Chen Li was still wondering if he had been fooled. But looking at the back, Chen Li can be sure that the value and significance of returning to the sect of 10,000 swords is incomparable even with a truly magical swordsmanship. For example, Sword 23 in Legendary, rain-covering sword and other sword skills. Without internal power, this sword skill is also free. True chi and internal force are engine oil, and swordsmanship is at most an excellent engine. But this 10,000 swords Guizhong is completely different. This is swordsmanship, but also inner strength and mentality. And the power of the level can be improved with the increase in the number of sword skills acquired. Among other things, the first characteristic of this rank can be called a unique ability. Ignore all the learning requirements of swordsmanship. You can understand it directly. And it can greatly increase the learning speed of swordsmanship and reduce the consumption of potential points for practicing swordsmanship. This can be called a treasure-level talent that any swordsman can only dream of. As for the negative effects, Chen-Li really didn't care much. With such a terrifying internal strength as a foundation, what kind of sword technique and palm technique should one practice instead? What's more, if you say what type of martial arts is the most in this arena, swordsmanship can definitely rank first. If the fist and palm were divided into boxing and palm, it would not even be as many as swordsmanship. 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 Chen-Li's mind was spinning rapidly, thinking about where the swordsmanship in the hands of those swordsmanship masters in the previous life came from. In addition to the number 1 in the world and the list titles of several masters, the title of 9 Uniques is the one that is most contested by all masters. Such as Jian Ju, Dao Ju, etc., which represent the strongest person in their respective fields. And without exception, Jian Ju is the most competitive among them. There are as many as 4 or 5 kendo masters who are qualified to compete for this title alone. After thinking about it for a while, Chen-Li felt a little overwhelmed. Reality is not a novel. These masters in the previous life would not be idle to announce how they obtained their chances on the internet. Therefore, although he also knows some methods of obtaining martial arts, he really has no clue now. Thinking of this, Chen-Li is too lazy to waste time. There is a reminder on the sword order. With his current strength, he can't even stay in this sword world for more than an hour. Thinking of this, Chen-Li directly squeezed the sword order in his hand, and it turned into a stream of light again, disappearing into this illusory and extremely mysterious sword world. The city of Yuhang is still so lively. Especially the players who have just entered the game, one by one running in the streets and alleys of Yuhang, seem to want to find some hidden missions in this randomly born city, and from then on, they will reach the sky step by step and lead every step of the way. It's a pity, not to mention the hidden missions, I didn't even get the common missions, wasting the initial time for nothing. Chen-Li's eyes suddenly lit up, thinking of something. I had an enemy in my last life, and it seems that I got an adventure in this Yuhang and gained a firm foothold. He didn't stay in the most prosperous area of Yuhang for a long time, and he didn't even use the initial money to go to various sects to learn from teachers as most players chose. Chen-Li headed straight for the most famous scenic spot in Yuhang. This place is no other boundary, it is the West Lake. The reputation of West Lake is not small, and there are also many martial arts events that started here. Chen-Li's speed is extremely fast, and the most important thing is that he has a goal and knows the location clearly. Compared with other players who have just entered the game, despite the time dragged by entering the sword world, he was the first to see a shadow of a boat in a corner of the West Lake. Chen-Li was slightly overjoyed, and quickly walked to the shore, shouting, "Boater, can you take me across the lake? Mother Exapi, you really know how to pick the time." There was an angry curse, and the lone boat came directly to Chen-Li like an arrow off the string, and the boatman on the boat was not a boatman in core raincoat. It was a strange man in a black and white long gown, holding a long brush. In front of him was a half-painted drawing paper that was missing because of Chen-Li's loud shout just now. The middle-aged man glared at Chen-Li. "Boy, you ruined my painting, do you understand? The land of West Lake, the most famous place in this rivers and lakes, is a special land boundary. Mizhuang." And this strangely dressed middle-aged man in front of him is none other than Dan Qingsheng, who is said to be the last of the 4 friends of Zhongnan. Good wine, good sword, good painting. This. Chen-Li pretended to be embarrassing, and hurriedly cupped his hands. "Senior, forgive me, this junior really made an unintentional mistake." Dan Qingsheng, who was holding a paintbrush, frowned, waved his hands and said, "My lord, I'm not a boatman. If you want to swim in the lake, you should find someone else. Don't bother me to sketch here." Seeing that Dan Qingsheng wanted to leave, Chen-Li said quickly, "Delaying Senior's painting is really an unintentional mistake of Chen. If Senior has any orders, just say it bluntly, and Chen will definitely go all out." Dan Qingsheng, who was about to leave, turned his head to look at Chen-Li, looked him up and down, and was about to sneer and sarcastically, but suddenly thought of something. "Are you a stranger?" Chen-Li nodded. Dan Qingsheng showed a look of interest, and then he smiled and said, "So, I do have one thing. He paused, and said directly. What I love in my life, besides swordsmanship and painting skills, is good wine. I have tasted all the best wines in the world. There is only one. Seeing Chen Li listening, Dan Qingsheng said. In Legendary, the monkeys will put the fruit in the tree hole for the winter, and by chance, the fruit will be fermented to form the monkey wine in Legendary. It is rumored that this monkey wine is a treasure, and it is uncommon in the world. If you can get this monkey wine, let's forget about the previous things, and the master can teach you a trick. How about it? Quote. He is all joking. What kind of precious monkey wine is it? Even if he inquired for years, he couldn't find anything. Unexpectedly, Chen Li nodded directly. Senior, don't worry, this junior will try his best to find it. You have accepted the mission, find monkey wine. Close black lens bracket. Seeing Chen Li's firm appearance in front of him, Dan Qingsheng was slightly taken aback, but Uncommon felt a little embarrassed. In fact, he still knows his level. It is already rare to copy the lake scenery on the West Lake in order to copy one or two of the beauty of the West Lake. His level is limited, and his own painting skills are average. Now that the painting is bad, it is just an excuse. Unexpectedly, Chen Li's appearance made him blush a little. Dan Qingsheng looked Chen Li up and down, and then said. He's a seedling. The most important thing is that he is clean and not a disciple of any other sect. Anyway, you don't have any skills. How rare is that monkey wine? How can it be so easy to find? Fourth master, let me tell you one move, don't just die outside. Fortunately, Chen Li started as a homeless family. This Dan Qingsheng is a member of the Sun Moon God sect. Although it is not a heinous person who is far away from the center of the Sun Moon God sect, it is absolutely impossible to teach martial arts to a disciple who has an affair with other orthodox sects. A book was thrown over. Chen Li quickly took it, looked down, and was slightly taken aback. Open black lens bracket. One word. Electric sword. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. 4th grade swordsmanship. Close black lens bracket. Swordsmanship is swift, like lightning. The requirements for the physical skills of the person performing it are extremely high. At the time of great achievement, the swordsmanship is as thunderous as a waterfall. Hard to dodge. Close black lens bracket. Learning requirements. Basic swordsmanship 4-fold, body technique greater than 30. Close black lens bracket. This word electric sword is the master's swordsmanship in Zhuangzi. If you learn it, don't lose your prestige. Danqing's internal force caused the boat to pass quickly on the West Lake, and following his voice came a special token. Find that monkey wine, come to the Zhuangzi on the island in the lake to find me. There are no words on the token, only a blooming plum blossom, which seems to be the admission token of that plum village. Rank 4 swordsmanship. It seems that the level is not high, but the martial arts in Jianghu were extremely difficult to acquire, and the 4th grade swordsmanship is already regarded as the middle-class swordsmanship among some sects. For those who have just entered Jianghu, it is undoubtedly a magical skill. It's just that the learning requirements of this sword technique are also extremely high, and the body technique greater than 30 is really beyond the reach of ordinary people. But for Chen Li, with the 10,000 swords returning to the sect, any requirements for learning swordsmanship will be directly ignored. Thinking of this, Chen Li slapped the sword directly, and it turned into a ray of light and entered his body. You have learned the 4th grade swordsmanship, the 1-character electric sword. Close black lens bracket. 1-character electric sword, 4th grade swordsmanship. The first weight, 0.04. Swordsmanship is swift, like lightning. The requirements for the physical skills of the person performing it are extremely high. At the time of great achievement, the swordsmanship is as thunderous as a waterfall. Hard to dodge. Close black lens bracket. Sword power and speed plus 30%. Vital attack plus 20%. Self-movement speed plus 15%. Close black lens bracket. Electric light splashing. Send out a sword at a very fast speed. The power depends on the body, consumes 20 points of true energy and internal energy. Close black lens bracket. Seeing the effect of the electric sword, Chen Li nodded in satisfaction. The power of the sword technique is nothing more than that, and it can even increase the speed of his own movement. It can be called the best existence among middle-grade swordsmanship. Go directly to the outside of Yuhang City. The monkey wine mentioned by Dan Qingsheng is indeed a very precious thing. Extremely rare, hard to find. However, Chen Li, who has the experience of the previous life, dared to come to the bank of the West Lake first, and naturally had certainty in seeing this Dan Qingsheng. Naturally, he knew exactly where the monkey wine was stored. Monkey wine naturally only appears among monkey groups, and in a dense forest dozens of miles outside Yuhang City, there is a large-scale monkey group. Perhaps the only thing that needs to be carefully considered is that although the dense forest is not a famous place, the group of monkeys are all wild monsters above level 5. Although level is not the most important factor affecting a player's strength, it is also the most important criterion for measuring strength. However, for Chen Li, who has 7 years of combat experience in his previous life, it's really nothing to leapfrog the ranks and fight some ordinary beasts. The dense forest is rustling, especially being blown by the wind in the forest, adding a sense of silence and freehand brushwork. It's just that Chen Li didn't have the slightest intention to appreciate the beautiful scenery, and a wind quickly came to his ears. He walked a little faster, dodging the sound of the wind. It was a stone that exploded in place. Chen Li looked up. On the branch of the forest, a monkey with long black hair all over its body and as tall as a man's waist stood on the branch. It also held a fist-sized stone in its paws. Seeing that the blow didn't work, the black monkey squeaked, revealing its yellowed fangs. It doesn't have the cute and mischievous feeling of ordinary monkey heads, but it is completely vicious. Chen Li also showed a smile, and picked up the ordinary iron sword bought from Yuhang in his hand. Sword up. Like thunder and lightning. -487. Blood red's number burst from the top of that black monkey's head. At the same time, there was a bloody wound on his waist. Chen Li stood on the branch. Although he didn't have any light skills now, the terrifying speed carried by the electric sword made him jump directly onto the branch, which is nothing. It's just that although this sword was tricky and ruthless, it never directly killed the monkey. After all, the black monkey in front of him also has a level 7. This sword undoubtedly enraged the monkey in front of him completely, and the blood-red eyes fixed on Chen Li, and the squeak was full of mournful feeling. Chen Li was not affected by the ear-piercing scream at all. The internal force on the iron sword was condensed. At this moment, the ordinary long sword suddenly burst into a white light, like an electric light in the sky shining on the blade. Before the monkey had time to react, the sword turned into an aurora on the forest, and directly pierced the monkey's throat. -998. Red's damage numbers are completely incomprehensible. The critical attack in the one-word electric sword, plus the effect of 1,000 swords returning to the clan, are far beyond what players who have just stepped into the rivers and lakes can imagine. You killed a level 7 mountain ape, leapfrog to kill. You earned 700 experience points. You get 100 potential. Close black lens bracket. Your level has been raised to level 2, and your blood has been increased by 100 points. Close black lens bracket. Potential can be used to improve the realm of martial arts, and the improvement of martial arts realm can be improved through one's own practice in addition to potential points. The vast majority of martial arts realms are only 10th level at most. Reaching the 10th level is the state of Zochin. And for Chen Li, this is undoubtedly more important. Because every time he has a Zochin level swordsmanship, the experience of Wanjian Chao Zong will be improved, which can directly improve the level of this Wanjian Chao Zong. Glancing at the attribute panel, only 2 swords have just been released. The level of one-word electric sword has reached 144 400ths directly. The ability of Wanjian Chao Zong is really powerful. Generally speaking, the speed of practicing martial arts, the potential point is undoubtedly the fastest, but the potential point is rare, not so easy to get. Moreover, it is necessary to practice the bottomless pit of inner strength, and normal practice is also the most common. And the ability of Wanjian Chaozong's Word Master has made the speed of swordsmanship practice 5 times faster than others. Coupled with Chen Li's own high level of comprehension, the speed at which his proficiency improves can be called an abnormal level. Thinking of this, Chen Li's momentum was shaken, and he headed towards the depths of the dense forest again. The mournful howling of the mountain ape just now undoubtedly stirred up the entire dense forest. Creatures like monkeys live in groups. Not long after, several figures came quickly in front of the forest. Chen Li didn't waste any time. He raised his sword and danced above the treetops in this mountain forest. His body skill attribute itself was the highest besides understanding. It can be done too. -786. -677. ... Numerals with blood red quickly appeared on the top of the mountain ape rushing towards this side. The levels of these mountain apes are mostly between level 5 and level 10. For Chen Li, the first mountain ape is just a matter of 2 swords, and some of them are of lower level, so naturally there is no need to say more. In particular, Chen Li's combat experience is extremely rich, and he doesn't give these monkeys a chance to form a group at all. Hold the sword and move forward, invincible. This mountain forest is huge, and the number of monkeys is also extremely large. However, due to the extremely concealed geography and the fact that they have just entered the rivers and lakes, naturally no other players came. In just half a day's work, with the help of this steady stream of monkeys, Chen Li's level has reached level 6. In Zhonghu, every 5 levels up, you can get 2 attribute points, which can be allocated on top of your own basic attributes. Chen Li directly put these 2 points on comprehension. In addition to the blessing of hidden attributes, the attribute of understanding is undoubtedly the most important. This is not a big deal, the most important thing is that after half a day of fighting, Chen Li's one-word electric sword has been greatly improved. 1 character electric sword, 4th grade swordsmanship. The 8th stage, 1497 2500. Swordsmanship is swift, like lightning. The requirements for the physical skills of the person performing it are extremely high. At the time of great achievement, the swordsmanship is as thunderous as a waterfall. Hard to dodge. Close black lens bracket. Sword power and speed plus 190%. Vital attack plus 100%. Self-movement speed plus 70%. Comes with a certain burning effect. Close black lens bracket. Electric light splashing. Send out a sword at a very fast speed. The power depends on the body, consumes 70 points of internal energy. Close black lens bracket. If this speed of improvement is seen by some sect disciples, they will definitely exclaim that this is really a peerless genius. In just half a day's effort, a 4th grade swordsmanship was directly promoted to the 8th level. In fact, it's really not an exaggeration, Chen Li's own cultivation speed increased by 5 times. In addition, the consumption of potential points has been greatly reduced. With the 2 bonuses, this speed is considered normal. In the final analysis, the ability of the Sword Master is too terrifying. At this moment, the originally quiet woods are like a Shira field, and the corpses of the monkeys have stained all the boundaries. Chen Li kept walking, still heading towards this forest. It's just that he had just walked a few hundred steps before he stopped and looked up at the figure in the woods ahead. This is a figure that is more than twice as tall as the previous black mountain apes. He was nearly 10 feet tall, with snow-white hair all over his body, and under the hair were bulging muscles. Open black lens bracket. Mountain Ape King, level 13, close black lens bracket. The leader of the apes in the mountains and forests is infinitely powerful. Close black lens bracket. Boss. Chen Li's heart moved, but he showed a smile. Since all the bosses have appeared, it means that he is not far from his goal. Not every group of monkeys can have something like monkey wine. And there is only a group of monkeys with such weak strength that have monkey wine, and there is only one place outside Yuheng. Thinking of this, Chen Li sneered when he saw the leader of the mountain ape who yelled at him and rushed towards him, and suddenly handed out the long sword that had broken through many times and greatly increased its power. This mountain ape is not considered a strange beast, it can only be regarded as a wild beast. And even among wild beasts, they are not as powerful as those powerful beasts, they only have brute strength and flexibility in this forest. And Chen Li, who has been upgraded to level 6, plus the 8th level of the one-word electric sword, compared to when he just entered the forest half a day ago, it can be said that it is a world of difference. The power of swordsmanship, in addition to its own attributes and internal strength, its level is undoubtedly the most critical element. Reaching the 8th stage, compared with the 10th stage of Zochin, it is only a few steps away. Lightning splashes everywhere. Although not much, but barely sufficient internal force was condensed on the long sword, turned into an aurora, and directly sank into the mountain ape king's body at a sensational speed. -1487. The terrifying numbers are like blood blooming, so dazzling that people can't ignore them. Roar. There was a terrifying roar, and on the snow-white fur of the mountain ape king, a wound with deep bones appeared. The great pain undoubtedly stimulated the spirit of the Monkey King. Its eyes were red, and it chased Chen Li regardless of the blood gushing out crazily. A crazy beast, even without martial arts, a master who is proficient in fighting and killing in reality can kill it. Not to mention the current Chen Li, who has nearly 10 years of combat experience in his previous life. With martial arts in his body, even though this big monkey is extremely ferocious and powerful, he is still like a turtle in an urn being teased in front of that lightning-like, one-word electric sword. In the end, with an unwilling howl, he fell directly into a pool of blood. You killed the level 13 Mountain Ape King. Get 8,000 experience points. Gain 2,500 potential points. Close black lens bracket. Your level has been raised to level 7. Vitality increased by 100 points. Close black lens bracket. The good harvest made Chen Li show a smile. These beasts will not explode anything except corpses, and Chen Li has no interest in this bloody corpse. Quickly walk towards the huge cave behind the mountain forest. The cave is extremely dry, even very clean, not to mention the stench like a beast, and there is a faint fruity smell. As expected, Chen Li showed a smile. He had a chance in his previous life, and followed that Sikong to reach the stars and traveled to many worlds. That guy is a thief, but not an ordinary thief. Rarely can't get what he wants, and this monkey wine is just like that. When talking about this monkey wine, Sikong Jiaxing was full of intoxication, saying that he was shocked when he tasted this monkey wine by chance outside Yuhang City. And the place where this wine is located is right in front of your eyes. In the innermost part of the cave, a huge wooden barrel is placed in it. The rich fruity aroma in this cave comes from it. Chen Li directly lifted the lid, and as expected, an amber-like orange and thick liquid appeared in front of his eyes. Open black lens bracket monkey wine, 4 rare treasures close black lens bracket. The treasure in legendary, but it seems that it is not fully ripe, and the grade of the fruit used is relatively low, making the grade not high. But there are still benefits. Close black lens bracket. After taking it, your own blood plus 1000 points. Infuriating plus 1000 points. Potential points plus 1000 points. Close black lens bracket. Note: each person can only take effect once. Seeing the attributes appearing in front of him, even Chen Li could not help but gasp in anticipation. In fact, his current health points have even just reached around 1000 points. The inner strength is even more miserable, only a mere 100 points. Level up will not increase internal strength. Only the improvement of internal strength or some rare treasures can be achieved, which makes it extremely difficult to obtain true energy and internal strength. For example, the move of Wanjian's, electric light splashing, requires a lot of real energy, which is a bottom-of-the-box trick, and it will not be used unless it is not trivial. But now, just one sip of the monkey wine in front of him can increase 1000 points of true energy. It is indeed the most precious treasure of heaven and earth, and it is really unusual. Without even thinking about it, Chen Li picked it up and drank it in one gulp. A warm current melts into itself. It's like soaking in hot water, as if every cell is alive. Infuriating is finally enough. Then Chen Li hurriedly took the wine jugs he brought, and filled several jugs in the big wooden barrel. This kind of treasure, besides handing in the mission, naturally also has to be kept. Maybe there is some use for it. As for selling, Chen Li didn't think about it. The things in Zhonghu become more and more precious the further they go, especially this kind of natural treasures that can increase permanent attributes. In the later stage, it can be said that it has reached a sky-high price. After filling several pots to the brim, Chen Li finally stopped. He was just about to turn around and leave contentedly, but the corner of his eye suddenly flicked away. In the deepest part of the Shanyuan cave, a touch of emerald green came into his eyes. Chen Li was taken aback for a moment, and he stepped forward. Only then could he see the whole picture of this thing clearly. Bamboo sword. Chen Li was a little speechless, and stepped forward to pick it up. This is a 3-foot-long bamboo sword, the blade is emerald green, as if it had grown into this shape itself. It is warm and moist in the hands, but it is as light as nothing, and there is nothing unusual about it. Open black lens bracket nameless bamboo sword close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket miscellaneous close black lens bracket. The emerald green wooden sword made of bamboo branches doesn't even seem to be offensive, it can only be regarded as a good decoration. However, the handle is slightly faded, as if someone used to hold it a lot. Close black lens bracket. Chen Li shook his head helplessly, he was really thinking too much, how could it be so easy to encounter such a thing as an adventure? The levels of equipment items in Zhonghu were also divided into grades 1 to grade 9, and above grade 9 there are peerless and divine objects. The latter two are unique. And every time a weapon above the peerless level comes out, it will attract blood and blood, which is even worse than some martial arts. After all, the magic weapon is the eternal pursuit of everyone in the rivers and lakes, and most of the fights for fame and fortune arise because of this. But Chen Li thought about it, and put the bamboo sword into his backpack. This bamboo sword is extremely green and magnificent. Even if it is not a piece of equipment, it is also an extremely beautiful thing. It is also good to take it out to play when there is nothing to do. Chen Li was not in a hurry to leave, but instead sat cross-legged slowly in this cave full of fruity aroma. The potential gained from beheading the big monkey before, plus the potential gained from taking the monkey wine, is enough to make his already consummated, one-character electric sword, reach the 10th level of Zochan realm. And once a sword art reaches this level, then the condition of Wanjian Guizong can be achieved, and at that time, this special internal strength of Wanjian Guizong can be upgraded from the first rank to the second rank internal power-up. I just don't know what will change by then. Potential is like flowing water, being injected into this electric sword. And the one-character electric sword swordsmanship, which had increased the experience and proficiency by beheading the mountain ape boss, also began to improve rapidly. 9th weight. 10th weight. Ding, your martial arts, one-word electric sword, has reached the state of perfection, and it can no longer be improved. Close black lens bracket. A flash of lightning flashed in Chen Li's mind, and all the mysteries of the word, electric sword, flooded into his mind. Compared with the previous sword that had reached a perfect state except for the passively improved attributes at this time, Chen Li felt an indescribable handiness. This feeling of freedom has an indescribable feeling, as if the one-word electric sword is no longer a martial art in Zhonghu, and all the moves have become his subconscious movements. Incomparably free, mixed like nature. Is this the realm of Zochan? The thoughts in Chen Li's mind had just turned, and then, a reminder sound came again. Your martial arts, Wanjian Guizong, conditions are met, the rank is promoted, currently, 2nd rank. Close black lens bracket. Chen Li's special feeling about the one-word electric sword disappeared immediately, and he quickly opened his own attribute panel, looking at the changed Wanjian Guizong in front of him. Wanjian returns to the sect, internal strength, swordsmanship. Grade. 2nd grade, 1/5. Realm. Special martial arts, no cultivation realm. Description. Returning 10,000 swords to the sect is the highest level of swordsmanship. Once you use 10,000 swords, you are like a servant meeting the master, like worshipping a god. The level and power can be gradually improved with the number of sword skills acquired. Close black lens bracket. Attributes. Root bone +2, body technique +2, strength +2, concentration +2, comprehension +2, internal strength +200. Close black lens bracket. Characteristic. Sword master. All sword techniques, any grade, ignore all learning requirements. You can understand it directly. Any swordsmanship whose grade is lower than that of Wanjian Chaozong can be directly promoted to Zochan. Swordsmanship training speed plus 500%. Potential required is reduced by 50%. But you can't practice other types of external martial arts, and the potential required for the rest of the internal exercises is plus 500%. Close black lens bracket. Sure enough, in addition to the re-upgrade of the attributes attached to the internal strength, the re-upgrade actually requires a full 5 Zochan swordsmanship. Chen Li didn't care about this seemingly harsh condition, but looked at a new word that appeared under the characteristics of the sword master. Sword god. All sword techniques, any grade, all effects are doubled in power. Kai consumption reduced by 50%. Every time you master a sword technique to achieve Zochin, the power and effect of all sword techniques will be increased by 2%. Close black lens bracket. What the hell? Compared with the Sword Master, in the first article, the new ability of Wanjian Gui Zong, after being upgraded to the second rank internal strength seems a bit thin. But it still made Chen Li gasp. Doubling the power of all effects of all sword techniques. This simple ability really deserves to be the ability of the Sword God. Now he has reached the level and realm of the 10th great perfection of the 4th rank, one-word electric sword. The power that can be exerted has reached a limit. If the power is doubled to this level, what will the speed and power of the one-word electric sword be? Chen Li couldn't even imagine it. The one-word electric sword of the 4th grade is already the best among the middle grades, and its speed is so fast that it doesn't even need the blessing of lightness skills. It can be called outrageous. If the power of the Sword God is added, the power of the Yizi electric sword is not bad even compared to the 7th and 8th rank swordsmanship. If it is combined with advanced swordsmanship, or even unique swordsmanship, to what extent will the power that can be displayed reach? Chen Li clenched a long sword in his hand, and subconsciously made a move of electric light and flint. The sword edge flashed, and it appeared 20 feet away in an instant. This speed. Chen Li stood up slowly, looked at those mountain apes and beasts that had been refreshed again, and showed an excited smile. A small storefront in Zhongcheng, with 3 large characters written on the plaque, Jiamingfeng. Chen Li looked up, but didn't show any regrets, and directly closed the store door completely. This is his shop, and it is also left to him by his deceased parents, except for the row of rented houses, the villa he lives in, and carries nearly 9-figure savings and a face like a crown jade. All that remains of a legacy. Parents love tea, this is a tea shop. A few days before Zhonghu went on sale, Chen Li had already sold the storefront. In his last life, because he had to take care of the business here, he missed the most important early development time in Zhonghu, making him fall behind step by step. It's just that after knowing the importance of Zhonghu, it's already too late. In this life, Chen Li will naturally not make the same mistakes again. Chen'er, what's the matter? Quit doing it. Looking at the closed rolling door, Chen Li was about to get in the car to go home, but a rough man's voice with a northern accent came from his ear. A bald man with an unshaven beard who looked to be in his 30s was sitting on a rocking chair at the entrance of a nearby shop and looked at him in surprise. This guy is the owner of the famous cigarettes and wines next door. I don't know his real name, but the guests who come always call him Lao Dao. Chen Li followed suit. This guy has an innate uprightness and magnanimity. When he is free, he always comes to the shop with Chen Li to drink a few cups of tea. It is a bit of friendship. Chen Li was slightly taken aback when he saw this man, but he quickly came back to his senses and nodded with a smile, no more. You are blessed. Such a big business will not be done if you don't want to do it. Is there any way to get rich? Can you teach me, bro? Chen Li didn't lie, and said bluntly, stay home and play games. This old knife is also a wonderful person. Hearing this, not only did he not show any disappointment and contempt, but his eyes lit up. You also play that, Zhonghu. It is said that it is a virtual reality game that is released simultaneously worldwide, and it is adapted from the background of our Dragon Kingdom martial arts. Chen Li nodded. Of course he knew that the guy in front of him was also playing, and this guy was much more famous than himself in his previous life. Hey, our ID is Lao Dao, what's your name? Go in and add friends. Chen Li. Li is the fierce Li. Lao Dao chuckled. Success, I will add you when I go back to the game, don't you forget it. Welcome back to Zhonghu. Close black lens bracket. With a sound in his ears, Chen Li's eyes lit up, and he returned to the lush forest. He glanced at his attributes. Open black lens bracket. Chen Li close black lens bracket. Level 10 Zhonghu Shrimp. Open black lens bracket. Health points 2000 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Internal force 1200 close black lens bracket. Potential points 11,600. Open black lens bracket. Strength 22 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Agility 27 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket root bone, 17 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket concentration, 17 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket perception, 56 close black lens bracket. Fu Yuan, close black lens bracket. Martial arts. Wanjian returns to the sect. One word electric sword 10th level. After Wanjian Guizhong broke through to the second rank, Chen Li relied on the greatly increased power of the one-word electric sword, and practiced the level for a whole night in the jungle where there are still no people. Breakthrough to the absolute top level 10 now. After a day and a night, as expected, this forest outside Yuhang City has also been discovered by other players, and there are some places for players to team up and level up. Although what Chen Li saw, they were all carried out in teams, and most of them were extremely difficult. It's too strenuous to fight monsters in Zhonghu. This monkey can climb trees and throw stones, how can I fight? Fortunately, we learned the second-grade boxing method Xingyiquan from that martial arts gym. Otherwise, I'm afraid we wouldn't even be able to break through the monkey's defense. As the level increases, Chen Li, who is hearing and seeing better, listens to the whispers of the players beside him, and shakes his head with a smile. If he thinks about it, no one in the wild monsters in the forest can beat him. But he really doesn't bother to do things like stealing monsters. It doesn't make any sense. Zhonghu is different from the general ones. Although the strength represented by the level is there, it is not high. What is really important is martial arts. He turned to leave, but a voice came from his ear. Ding, player, Lao Dao, added you as a friend, do you accept it? Close black lens bracket. Yes, Lao Dao, it's finally time to play the game. Chen where were you born? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Chen Li, Yuhang close black lens bracket. Lao Dao, gone, we are in Lingnan, and we don't have money to ride in a carriage now, let's go together in a few days. Close black lens bracket. Chen Li, well, let's talk about it later. Close black lens bracket. He was in a hurry, and Chen Li couldn't help but think of his previous life. Lao Dao can be regarded as one of his best friends in the previous life, and he may also have the highest martial arts among all his friends. Lao Dao lives up to his name, and his sword skills were definitely the best in the first year of Zhonghu. If it continues, it is just around the corner to break through the Tianguan, set foot on the Tianbang and become a land god, and even hit Washan Lunjian and obtain the title of Sword Absolute, is not a small possibility. It's a pity that Lao Dao died in his first year in Zhonghu. Not death in the game, but in reality. The reason is simple. After the player's level breaks through the level of a first-class master at level 50, his own strength will be combined with reality, causing a wave of all-people evolution. Lao Dao was the fastest one to reach this step. Then, the daughter of a friend of his who was going to college in Beijing jumped off the building after being raped. After his friend's family appealed to no avail, they also followed Shenzhong. The land of Shenzhong is in Zhongcheng. That day, Lao Dao went to the capital alone with a wine knife. Chen Li heard later that the sentence was originally a life sentence, but because the family has a lot of power, it was changed to the death sentence and executed immediately. He didn't even see the last side of this guy. In the will that he brought back later, Lao Dao had no children in his life, his parents died young, and he had no worries. Own up. Using the knife to make a quick move, you can live up to the boy's head. Thinking of the past, Chen Li's eyes showed a look of nostalgia, but his footsteps did not stop, and he came to the official road outside Yuhang City intermittently. This forest is more than 10 miles away from Yuhang City. There is no light work to rush on the road, and there is no horse mount. It took more than half an hour to get there. It's just that he just came to the official road when he saw the tea shop beside the road. He has a good understanding of tea. The tea stalls on both sides of the official road are just ordinary big bowls of herbal tea, mainly for quenching the thirst of people on the road, and selling some dry food, which can be regarded as a place to stop. Therefore, don't look at the small stalls on this roadside, but generally those who stay here are all from the rivers and lakes. People in the Zhonghu must have affairs in the Zhonghu. Two youths who looked to be about 20 years old, dressed in blue and white gowns, with swords hanging from their waists, looked at the owner of the tea stall with domineering expressions on their faces. You old person, do you know who my brothers and sisters are? How dare you charge me 20 cents for such inferior samovar cakes? Are you in the eyes of money? One of them yelled at the old tea stall man who was wearing an apron and was clearly at a loss. There are many people in the tea stall who want to talk more, but they are also directly held back by their companions. The reason is very simple. On the scabbards of the swords hanging from the waists of these two youths, there are two large characters written. Qingcheng. Although the Qingcheng faction is not as big as Shaolin Wudang, it still has a place in this corner of the rivers and lakes in the south of the Yangtze River. Such a big school disciple is really not something ordinary people who walk the rivers and lakes can offend. The old man was a little at a loss, and hurriedly said, "Forget it, let's just treat these bowls of tea," as the old man invited two young heroes. The leader of the Qingcheng disciple sneered, "You are acquainted, but what are the identities of the two of us, and you are old enough to invite me? It is your honor that my brother and I drank your tea. It happened that the two of us were in a hurry. There is a need for some trouble on the way. This old man is a small business. Fart. Do you want money or your life?" The leading young man shouted loudly, and half of the edge of the long sword with a cold light suddenly appeared at his waist. The cold light was menacing. Chen Li stood by the road and watched this scene from beginning to end, frowning slightly. Seeing the lips trembling of the old man at the tea stand, he didn't hesitate anymore, and walked forward directly. "It's a matter of course to pay for food. Why did it change in the mouths of the two of you? Could it be that this huge Qingcheng faction has become a den of bandits?" Then Yu Kanghai became the bandit leader. Quote. His words were not concealed in the slightest, everyone in the tea stand could hear them clearly, and immediately a sensible person stepped back, stayed away from the tea stand, and looked at the scene in front of him. The two Qingcheng disciples looked at each other, and the young man who had just spoken stepped forward, looked Chen Li up and down and said with a smile, "What? You are not convinced?" Chen Li also laughed, and at the same time, under such circumstances, the names of the two Qingcheng disciples also appeared in front of his eyes. Open black lens bracket Yurinhao level 19 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Luo Renji level 18 close black lens bracket. I don't know who it is. It turned out to be the four beasts of Qingcheng, the bear and the wild boar. As soon as these 8 words came out, the faces of Yu Renhao and Luo Renji turned red at the fastest speed, and they couldn't hold back the reserve of disciples of Qingcheng disciples and other famous sects. The former yelled, "Where is the unknown person? Let grandpa die." Although Chen Li didn't think much of Lingu Chong, but I have to say that Lingu Chong's evaluation of these 4 products is quite fair. With a sound of clang, the sound of the sword's cry is clear and crisp. Yu Renhao took the lead with the sword, but it was Chen Li's sword that was one step faster. The Zochan state of the one-character electric sword, which is what players call the supernatural state for full-level martial arts, after the blessing of the Wanjian Gui Zong sword god state, its swordsmanship is so high and its power has reached an unbelievable level. Layers of imagination. On the seemingly ordinary long sword, a glaring feeling like lightning and thunder suddenly bloomed. Hey, did you kick it on the iron board? The tea stand is not big, but there are about a dozen people from the rivers and lakes coming and going, and this is just a hand gesture, which is enough to make people horrified. Although it is hard to tell what kind of method this sword technique is, but the charm it shows, this young boy who looks young is definitely a master. Even Yu Renhao, who was the first to strike the sword, froze. Not to mention the power and speed of this sword, the brilliance of the sword's light alone is unimaginable. In fact, although the speed of one-character electric sword is rarely comparable among swordsmanship of the same level or even a higher level, the real magic of one-character electric sword lies in when the sword is drawn, the dazzling sword light. In the plot of Swordsman, Ding Jian, the manager of Mizhuang, introduced the swordsmanship. Even if Ding Jian relied on this swordsmanship, he could be regarded as walking in the rivers and lakes. People of the same level rarely have opponents. And one of the few defeats was because the opponent was blind in his early years, so he wouldn't be distracted by this sword light. This undoubtedly also shows from the side how dazzling the sword light that was unsheathed in Chen Li's hand at this time has reached. It's a pity that Yu Renhao is an NPC, not a player. Otherwise, he must be able to feel that being directly illuminated by this sword light at this time is like being directly illuminated by the high beam headlights of a vehicle in reality. Not only did he close his eyes subconsciously, but there was even a burning pain in his eyes. However, this sword light is not only light, but also a lethal weapon. Along with the scorching light like lightning flashed out, there was also Chen Li, and this extremely bright sword. -4587. The number of blood red came out directly from the top of Yu Renhao's head. The sword light, like a waterfall of light, directly sank into his throat. The eyes that couldn't help being closed, just closed, then opened again, but the last thing that came into view was the bright sword's edge that had sunk into the neck. And the scene of the head flying on top of the somewhat familiar body. One sword. It only takes one sword. Yu Renhao, who is now considered a little famous in the Zhonghu, was directly beheaded with a single sword. Blood flowed out. Chen Li Hengjian pointed out that the flying head fell directly on the tip of the long sword. Silence. Under this shocking sword light, all the Zhonghu people who were watching this scene cautiously in the whole tea stall were all stunned in place. Just because this sword is really too fast. Even Luo Renji, who was originally smiling jokingly, watching his brother torture and kill this ignorant guy, the smile on his face froze for a moment. This guy was a bachelor, and he knelt down on the ground with a plop. "Brother, have mercy. Brother, have mercy." Chen Li looked calm, but he did not intend to slow down at all. He threw the head above the sword tip into his backpack, and the long sword that was still dripping with blood slowly moved towards Luo Renji. "You little thief, how dare you kill me? I am a member of the Qingcheng faction, and my mentor is Yu Kanghai, the current head of Qingcheng. If you kill me, my master will not let you go." The rivers and lakes are the rivers and lakes, these NPCs with names and surnames, except for some special circumstances, once they die, they will never be resurrected. It's just that Chen Li doesn't have the slightest feeling for this name that ordinary people in the world are in awe of. Qingcheng faction. Even in the plot of Xiaoao, it is only a middle-class school, but in Zhonghu, there are countless schools and masters in the world of comprehensive martial arts, which can't even be ranked. It can also be a little majestic in a corner in the early stage. Outlined by the sword's edge, it sank into the eyebrows of the resentful Luo Renji like a wind and thunder. Kill the enemy at level 10, even the opponent has no room to fight back. This seems to be quite unreasonable in any other game, but it is not abrupt in Zhonghu. The rivers and lakes are such a special place. As long as the martial arts, the realm is reached, and the level is improved, it will be a matter of time. Except for a few big passes, the significance represented by the level is relatively small. And with the blessing of Wanjian Guizong, Chen Li already has such conditions. Chen Li circled around, and none of the Zhonghu people present even dared to look at him. He kept moving, directly picked up the two corpses, searched a little, and took a few things into his hands. It's just that before he could take a closer look, the system prompt sounded long overdue. You killed the only NPC, Luo Renji, level 18, and gained 10,000 experience points. Get 2,000 potential points. Close black lens bracket. You killed the only NPC, Yu Renhao, level 19, and gained 10,000 experience points. Get 2,000 potential points. Close black lens bracket. Player Chen Li, the first to kill the only NPC in Zhonghu. The system announcement is about to be made. Do you want to hide your name? Close black lens bracket. No. Chen Li didn't even look at it, and responded directly, and then looked at the spoils that burst out from the hands of these two guys. It's just that the first thing he just bought made Chen Li slightly taken aback. Open black lens bracket letter close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket miscellaneous close black lens bracket. A letter from Yu Kanghai, head of the Qingcheng school, to two disciples. There is only one sentence written on it. Yu Renyan, your junior brother, was brutally murdered by the head of Fuwei's bodyguard, and my apprentice came to Fuzhou 7 days later, and he paid for his debt with blood. Single quote closing square bracket. Looking at this thing, Chen Li's eyes suddenly lit up. The content of this letter is very simple, but what the content represents is not simple at all. The main line of the plot of Swordsman has begun. Chen Li didn't move, and put this thing into his backpack. To improve his strength, he mainly needs to learn enough sword skills, and looking at the entire rivers and lakes, Xiaoao's plot line has the most sword skills. Dugu 9 Swords, as one of the top swordsmanship in the gold system, is also in this line. It's just that apart from Dugu 9 Swords, Chen-Li is more interested in another thing. Obtaining the Dugu 9 Swords is extremely difficult, and it is very difficult to obtain it if you are not a disciple of the Washan school. Even for Washan disciples, it will take a long time to get this sword technique in Washan, where the sword chi is fighting. But the other thing is not like that. Evil warding off swordsmanship. This swordsmanship from the Sunflower collection, even if its power is not as powerful as the Dugu 9 Swords, it is definitely the top swordsmanship. Even if it does not reach the level of unparalleled skills, Chen-Li estimates that it is about the same. The difficulty of obtaining this evil sword technique is really not high. It's just that the conditions for learning are daunting. A normal man would probably not be able to accept such a thing from the palace. Chen-Li is naturally the same, but he is different from others. He has the Wanjian Guizong, who can learn any swordsmanship without directly ignoring the learning conditions. Is it possible to ignore the condition of falling from the palace? Thinking of this, Chen-Li's heart throbbed. It's just that when he was deep in thought, an announcement from Zhonghu plunged the Zhonghu that had just started a few days into an uproar. Zhonghu announcement: player Chen-Li, kill the only NPC, Yu Renhao, and Luo Renji. Be the first to kill the only NPC player, and get an extra prestige in the world +1. Close black lens bracket. Note: 6 gates united with Jinyue is equal to Zhonghu's person list, land list, and heaven list. The requirements for the list are not only the record of martial arts, but also the level of prestige is also affected. The Zhonghu announcement rang 3 times. It was like a depth bomb that detonated the originally peaceful forum and the world chat channel. Chen-Li, which great god is this? Yu Renhao and Luo Renji. Isn't this the Qingcheng 4 excellencies of the Qingcheng faction? I saw Hu Reniang and Hong Renshang in Suzhou. They are at level 22. Now there are people who can kill bosses of this level gone. The Fencing Guild invites this expert to join. The monthly salary can be more than 6 figures, and the specific benefits can be discussed in detail. Fencing. Isn't this a famous club in Longguo? It seems that this Chen-Li is not a professional master anymore. Is he a passerby? It's hard to say. Zhonghu is different from other games. The advantages of clubs and guilds have been greatly reduced. I'm envious. On the World Chat channel, Chen-Li didn't even watch it at all, because after this announcement appeared, his private account of Feige's message was immediately exploded. Chen-Li resolutely turned off the function of directly searching IDs to add friends, and changed to face-to-face exchange of business cards. Only then did the chat box of the only friend open. Lao Dao, Chen Is this Chen-Li Yu? Close black lens bracket. Chen-Li, only after a certain period of time in Zhonghu, duplicate IDs are allowed to appear, and now I should be the only one. Close black lens bracket. Old knife. You kid is so fierce. Close black lens bracket. In the last life, it was Chen-Li who said this to Lao Dao, but he didn't expect that it was just the beginning of his rebirth, so he reversed it. Chen-Li, it's okay. Barely being the first in the rivers and lakes. Old knife. Bah. Since you are so powerful, you should come to Lingnan instead. This carriage money is too dark, and there is no recharge channel for Zhonghu, what a pit. Close black lens bracket. Chen-Li smiled slightly, thinking of the letter he had just found from Yu Renhao's body. Fuwei Escort is in Fuzhou, and the land of Fuzhou is in Lingnan. Thinking of this, he directly agreed. Chen-Li, 1 week at the latest, I will find you when the time comes. Close black lens bracket. After sending the last message, Chen-Li directly closed the flying pigeon passing book, and took his spoils, heading for Yuhang in the distance. His fate is not low, but it has not reached the point of extreme exaggeration. The combination of Luo Renji and Yu Renhao, except for the secret letter just now, has not even revealed a single martial arts, only a good-looking nice-looking longsword. Chen-Li is no exception. The low chance of killing NPCs to explode martial arts cheats can be said to be outrageous, unless there are some special circumstances. Otherwise, the martial arts in Zhonghu are rare and they will not reach that level. Chen Li didn't care too much, he just threw away the blank longsword that accompanied him with his 10th level of experience, and now some teeth were missing, and put the exploded sword in the palm of his hand. The scabbard is dark green, the hilt is also emerald green, and the sword body is as bright as a pool of autumn water. Just by looking at it, you can tell that it is an unimaginably good sword. Qingfeng sword, 5th grade sharp weapon. The hilt of the scabbard made of green paulownia trees unique to Mount Qingcheng, and the sword body made of hundreds of tempered steels, can be broken by blowing hair, and can cut iron like mud. It is a rare sharp sword. Close black lens bracket. Agility +7, strength +2. Cutting iron like mud. Any weapon or armor that is lower than the Qingfeng sword will trigger the armor breaking effect when touched, and there is a certain chance that it will be directly damaged. Close black lens bracket. Requirements for use: body skill greater than 20, strength greater than 15. Close black lens bracket. Nice one. At this stage, it is already considered a small best, and Chen Li doesn't want to get that peerless famous weapon or even magic weapon. Those things are unique in the world, and once obtained, it will cause a lot of trouble. Putting the long sword on his back, Chen Li gave some of the money he found from the 2 people to the old man at the tea stall, and then he rushed towards the West Lake in Yuhang City without stopping. After passing through the endless scenery of the West Lake, Chen Li's footsteps finally stopped in front of a manor on the edge of the West Lake. The manor can be described as huge and luxurious, and the gate of the courtyard is closed, as if strangers are not allowed to enter. What are you looking at? This is a private place, retreat quickly. The guard in front of the gate said lightly. There was some impatience in his words. Obviously, there were a lot of foreign players coming during this period, which annoyed him. His voice has a strong stamina, and he is obviously a little master with good internal strength. Chen Li didn't care about it, and took out the token that Dan Qingsheng had given him earlier. Sure enough, the guard was taken aback for a moment, then quickly opened the door and bowed. I don't know, it's the 4th master's distinguished guest, please come in. Chen Li didn't think much of it, and walked into the Mei Zhuang, but obviously, outside the Mei Zhuang, the figures of several players looked at this scene and looked at each other, anxious. Thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.